Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 5 of the White Collar Players Immersive Mod series. This evening introduces changes to VATS, lockpicking, and even physics itself, along with some miscellaneous items. We have a great show for you tonight, so let's get started. The Vault-Tec Accelerated Focus System, or V.A.F.S, by Ashnal, completely overhauls the function of the standard VATS system. With this mod, the user retains movement control and manual fire of his or her weapon, including grenade-type munitions. V.A.F.S, similar to VATS, runs on AP, so while the system is activated, the action points are draining and each fire of the user's weapon drains even more. Critical hits are charged both inside and outside of V.A.F.S and can be used while the system is activated or during normal combat. V.A.F.S functions as an aid object which can be favorited to a chosen slot, along with the critical hit activator. In order to use a charged up critical hit, the user must activate the item using the assigned hotkey and immediately firing after the sound effect plays. The true power of critical hits comes from their ability to charge up multiple times and can be unleashed back to back on a particularly powerful foe. The perks previously applying to VATS now also apply to V.A.F.S as well, and their changes are shown on the mod page along with the adjustments to legendary effects. With this mod, Jet now increases both movement and reload speed, which is especially effective in the new system. The changes made by V.A.F.S make combat much more fluid, which we feel thoroughly enhances gameplay. A great mod by Ashnal, and we are excited to have this in our load order. Locksmith-Testudini allows you to lock and unlock any doors and containers in the Commonwealth. This mod is great for securing your precious treasures or for securing particularly annoying settlers. It adds a bit more immersion to combat as well, by letting you barricade doors in an intense firefight so you can reload and catch your breath. If raiders can lock the doors to their camps, then you should be able to as well. On the opposite side of locks, we introduce Locky Bastard-Kesta. This beautifully crafted mod incorporates several immersive alternatives to the lockpicking minigame for both doors and containers. Now, you can trespass without even needing a bobby pin. With Locky Bastard installed, you can use almost any weapon to shoot at a lock. Simply take out your weapon, approach the locked door, and press the prompted key. Success of opening the door depends on the weapon, your skill with it, and your knowledge of locks. However, shooting at the lock can be risky. The lock could be broken and permanently lock you out, unless you have a lockpick level of 3 and can then repair the lock, but it will replace it with a master level lock, thus making your break-in attempt much more difficult. You can also attempt to blast open a lock, provided you have a valid explosive equipped and some adhesive. Blasting a lock will always be successful with enough attempts, but the amount of attempts necessary to break through depends on your knowledge of demolitions and the level of the lock. In order to try detonating a lock, make sure to equip your explosive of choice and crouch while approaching the lock. Be sure to get close enough and then press the key prompt. Quickly back away, because the following explosion will cause you and any others nearby some damage. It will also alert any guards to your trespassing. As a last resort, you can attempt to kick through a locked door, either with power armor or without. However, kicking through even the lowest level lock without power armor will cause you damage and most likely require several attempts. Therefore, we recommend to always wear power armor when kicking through barriers. A successful kick-in depends on your strength and the lock's level, though as you can see here, sometimes you might catch a lucky break. Along with these great alternatives, the perk requirements for picking locks of higher levels have been removed. Now, no perks are necessary to bypass even a master level lock. But taking lockpicking perks does make the standard minigame much easier and help with the other intrusion methods as well. This mod is great for adding a new level of immersion to any playstyle, but especially for those who like to explore where they're not supposed to. Out of the box, the physics of the Commonwealth work pretty well, but certainly could be improved. For example, a round from a .44 revolver would not push a body 10 feet along the ground. Similarly, grenades would not launch entire bodies roughly a story or two into the air. Thankfully, D.Defender has the solution with the mod Realistic Ragdoll Force and the optional file Reduced Explosion Force. Naturally, we chose the realistic option for our game, which means that gunshots and explosions will have a reduced push effect on dead enemies, and the results are very noticeable. This tweak to the laws of physics in the Commonwealth certainly bolsters the game's immersion and also reduces the amount of searching you have to do after fragging an enemy behind cover. Live Dismemberment by DeathclawAlpha, along with the better locational damage and Live Dismemberment patch by PorteNoir, brings some fantastic changes to combat. This mod implements a better dismembering and crippling system to most NPCs. Now humans, super mutants, deathclaws, yaoguais, and ghouls can be crippled or dismembered with certain weapons to give you an edge in combat. You are presented with many options on the mod page that vary in degrees of dismembering frequency. We chose the brutal option, which means that with correct aiming, dismembering occurs about 1 in every 3 enemies, depending on the weapon. We also chose the increased headshot damage option, which basically guarantees that a round to the skull from any weapon is a guaranteed kill on raiders and ghouls, but certain strong super mutants and animals may take more than one shot. Guns like the 44 revolver and hunting rifle will rarely dismember any enemy, but will cripple their limbs, resulting in either a much slower movement speed or forcing them down on one leg, while shots to their arms will result in either greatly reduced melee damage or much worse accuracy if they're wielding a gun. Meanwhile, weapons like a plasma rifle or shotgun will completely dismember an opponent, causing them to sit on the ground immobile, but still capable of shooting from a sitting position, or completely removing their arm, forcing them to flee because they are completely defenseless. If you have better locational damage installed, it is important to place the main live dismemberment file below it in your load order, and then the patch beneath that, which ensures that the two mods work in tandem. Great work by DeathclawAlpha for bringing more immersive elements to combat, and to PorteNoir for his crucial contribution as well. If you have spent any time in Home Plate in Diamond City, then you might recall a low rumbling that you can hear throughout the entire house. If you're unfamiliar with the noise, here's a quick sample. Those who have decided to make this location a home often complain of this annoying sound effect while they're trying to sleep. Thanks to Sound of Silence and the miscellaneous file No Home Plate Noise by Francisque DDHue90, Home Plate residents can finally have some peace and quiet. This mod simply removes the ambient sound effect from Home Plate, which annoyingly pervaded the entire building without any source. Now the player has full control over the acoustics of their home, and Home Plate no longer leaves a ringing in your ears. While the Wasteland certainly has its moments as a dreary and depressing place, the colors that make it up would not always reflect such a feeling. The default color palette frequently seems too washed out and reduced in saturation, which would certainly be accurate in some places, but not nearly as often as the vanilla game depicts. Fallout 4 Enhanced Color Correction by ChaosWWW restores true color to the Commonwealth. Many scenes will no longer appear as washed out and dreary, and instead reflect a realistic color palette from water, paint, and other objects in the world. This mod introduces a subtle change to the visuals of the Commonwealth, but it is a great improvement for an immersive atmosphere as you trek across the wastes. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the collection for today. We hope you found some items to add to your game. Please remember to leave an endorsement for any mod you download and enjoy, and feedback or mod suggestions are always welcome in the comments below. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we will see you next time when the white collar players take a look at settlements.